Today you've been talking about the sanctions compliance in an uncertain world, and you've also been suggesting a guide to ship owners, charterers and financiers. So what does this guide involve?
Well, sanctions compliance is a very difficult area, and there have been a number of challenges with sanctions compliance over recent years. I've been talking about some issues that are with current compliance and some issues that we see in common contracts that are used in shipping, such as loan agreements and charter parties, and things that interested parties should look for in following their sanctions compliance.
US Coast Guard has actually applied many sanctions and is a very, let me say, challenging service that every ship owner has to abide by if they want to keep themselves in the market. Would you like to comment on the sanctions placed by the US Coast Guard or any other Coast Guards around the world?
Yes, well, the Coast Guard has a difficult job. They, in addition to the safety and service work that they do, they are also charged with following up on compliance with U.S. sanctions against Cuba, such as vessels that call in Cuba cannot call in the U.S. for 180 days unless they're carrying certain types of cargo. The Coast Guard's compliance measures have become more difficult lately because they're now, instead of the 180-day rule applying broadly across to all vessels, now it only applies to certain vessels, and having the Coast Guard figure out which cargoes are allowed and which are not allowed has been a bit of a challenge and a bit of an education process. But it's something that's ongoing, and I think that ship owners will find that the Coast Guard is learning to work with them on this, and so hopefully there'll be some progress in the future on that.
What do you expect to be the impact of those sanctions in terms of finance and costs for the ship owners as well?
Well, certainly sanctions compliance has been an issue for a number of years, and most of the banks and other capital providers seem to have settled into a common standard for sanctions clauses. So it's something that is expected, and it's something that is a common part of the loan agreements, and something that really there isn't a whole lot of room for negotiation. But there are certain provisions that, if you look at them very carefully, may be requiring more than law requires. So there is a little bit of room for negotiation there, and perhaps a little bit of room for cost savings, but there's not a lot.
Now, is this the first time you're actually participating in the Capital Link event?
This is my first time at the Capital Link event in Athens. I've been to several in New York where there are always wonderful programs, and I'm happy to say it's just as wonderful a program here in Athens.